is the greatest moment in my life.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we? Everybody okay?
Yes, we're doing really well. Hello, Sharon in the chat already. Sir, do your intro, sir.
Oh, mate. But first of all, please bear with me. It's incredibly, insanely warm in this tiny little corner of my recording. To the point where I've literally had to dash out and get a towel to wipe the sweat from my brow. Mags, that's how hard we work delivering this show to the glorious people.
And they don't respect it, do they? They don't.
No,
they don't.
I don't think so.
They don't give us the due respect that we absolutely deserve. Anya in the chat. Hello, Anya. How are you?
Yeah, those glorious listeners of ours who may be listening at any time that is from the good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or even watching from. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Sai via Radio Tekkers. I am Sai, and joining me as always on this post AEW Monday, the highlight of the end of your weekend, I guess, your Monday night delight, for want of a better term, the F5 to my lack of drive, the next big thing to my dream reoccurring. Basically, I'm in this room, okay, and Trish Stratus from around 2002, 2003 walks in, okay, and she's holding hands with Tay Conti. And then I'll tell you what, my kids listen to this, I'll DM you, all right, because we're going out about it.
That's for Chain Wrestling After Dark.
That's very true.
Very, very soon.
A podcaster who says, forget Mr. Suzuki, he's the real murder grandpa. Mr. Mags, how are we doing today, sir?
Listen, the charges didn't stick. I was clear on everything, so you can't keep throwing that in my face. No, I am still wired, sir. Not going to lie. It has been a mad 24 hours. I had about an hour's sleep, and yeah, it's just been crazy, amazingly crazy. Such a great weekend.
I was going to mention this because obviously it was your good self and various other high-level players from the Radio Tekkers world that did the, I suppose, reaction show, the after show to AEW's All Out pay-per-view live this weekend. And the show went for 2 hours of brilliant content with you fantastic geniuses discussing this wonderful pay-per-view. So, I mean, time,
that's a stretch.
Our time, Magsy, you're not finishing until 7:30, are you?
Yeah, by the time we'd wrapped up and we'd done like our post-record chit-chat, it was about 10 to 8-ish. So it was essentially get a shower and start the next day. It was a madness, but I wouldn't change it for the world because I'm glad. I mean, I was in kind of two minds whether I was actually going to watch All Out or save it till the day after. I'm so glad I stayed up and watched it because I would not have wanted to get on Twitter this morning and seen what I would have seen. I'm glad I was there to see it live because god damn, that was a good show. Unreal.
The ending obviously with Adam Cole and Brian Danielson appearing. You think, oh, Cole's here, that's the end of it, fantastic. And it was a great moment where he looked for a moment like he wasn't going to be pallying up with his old buddies, and then he did. And then, of course, Brian Danielson arrives. But earlier in the show, we had Ruby Soho arrive. We had, for me, Minoru Suzuki. Yes. Oh, my goodness. I'm a massive fan of this guy. And it just, when his music hit, I couldn't believe it. It was really, for me personally, what a moment. And I suppose what a pay-per-view. It's absolutely insane how good that show was, Max.
It's, we spoke pre-recording, and I honestly believe I've watched every single AEW pay-per-view that's been on. I believe that this was the best one. They were, taking out the big Slaw versus Cunty Marshall match, which no one really give a toss about. Every match here was must watch. It was really top quality. There was no kind of lull in the action. It was all fast paced, really interesting. No what you'd call piss break matches. It was nearly 4 hours of top draw content.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And again, the length of the show as well. I mean, we were discussing just before the little red light come on, weren't we, about the length of the pay-per-view and so on. And for me, 4 hours, that's on the money. for a pay. Obviously, the pre-show made it longer. Of course it did, but I didn't actually watch the pre-show. But for me, 4 hours for a pay-per-view, that's pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
That's pretty much good for me, you know?
I mean, it'd be better if they started at 9 p.m. so we can get to bed at a reasonable time. But yeah, it was 4 hours for a pay-per-view, especially one as big as All Out. I mean, that's their WrestleMania at the end of the day. Yeah. So it was. I really, really enjoyed it, from the battle royal to even the pre-show match was so much fun. That 10-man Moxley against Kojima, which is a legend match. Then Suzuki coming out. I mean, there were just so many big moments. It's so hard to kind of put into words how good it was. And in the annals of time, we're going to look at this as the debut of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. But there was so much in this show to enjoy. There was pretty much something for everyone. Yeah,
and what a roster as well. They had before this, I guess. But you look at the matches you can potentially have now. With Cole arriving, with Bryan Danielson arriving, oh my goodness. It's going to be such an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. And I tweeted out shortly after the match. I feel sorry for people who don't get pro wrestling. I feel sorry for people who don't watch pro wrestling, because I don't think there's anything in the world that can make you feel the way that show made me feel last night.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other kind of entertainment that I would happily stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning to watch, and then spend 2 more hours talking with a group of pals about it. Nothing else does that for me. Even MMA, which I do on the regular, I would not have a 2-hour post show about MMA. No. But we could have easily carried on talking about All Out. There were so many moments and spots and things to really harp up that, it's so good. Wrestling is so unique. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Do you want to have a quick check through the chat, Magsy, before we, I'm afraid...
there is tons.
Sadly, I'm afraid I have to lower the excitement level a touch, because I do have a pinball dick this week. So,
oh well, I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, we've Dan Griffin, who will undoubtedly be the star of the non-wrestling topic later on. He's in the chat. Hello, Dan. We've got Matt Willis trying to cause trouble in the chat, saying that my audio was out because he was having a dig at me when we did our post MMA show. My audio was out for the first 2 minutes, and he jumped in and reminded me. We've got your good lady in the chat, and you're in the chat. They're all having a good old chin wag between themselves. Don't mind us. We'll just be your kind of background audio. You enjoy yourself there in the chat.
You could just play a bit of music, Mags, and I'll mute the mic, and we can just sit back and just chill out and wait for them to finish, shall we?
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose first of all, another little cheery thing. Look at this lovely CM Punk t-shirt I'm sporting here. Look at this, eh? Isn't this amazing? This is his speech from when he came back, all written out in the design that there. I don't know if you can make out much of that on the pictures there. My camera's not the clearest, I apologize. But yeah, and it ends with saying, I'm back at the very bottom. A lovely present from my podcasting partner here, Mr. Magsy, and I really, really appreciate it, mate. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're absolutely more than welcome. It's by a design by a guy called I think it's called 3 Beat Designs on Twitter. So definitely go and check him out. He essentially did that picture, took a CM Punk inspired image, did the whole promo. And he's now selling merchandise with it on his Redbubble. As soon as I saw it, I thought this is a t-shirt that I have to get for Simon. I mean, we mentioned last week how cool this journey's been, and how I really was appreciative of being involved in this review. And I thought I'd show that appreciation and get you a cheeky little gift, and that just happened to be right time, right place. And yeah, it was a little bit of sneaky between me and Mrs. Powell to get it, to get all the logistics down. But yeah, I'm glad you got it, and I'm glad you like it.
No, I do. I love it, mate. I do. I love it. It's I suppose the conversation about this t-shirt is only about 5% of what goes on in between you and my wife for the DMs. I'm not allowed to see the rest of it, I've been told. So,
and you'll find that on Gen Wrestling After Dark.
After Dark. Oh my goodness, what a scary idea for a show that is. The amount of times one of us has to reel the other one back in a normal show. Imagine, you know.
With no filter. Jesus.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So then, So then, I suppose we better get to something this week that annoyed me a touch, shall we? We got a pimple dick this week, Mr. Mags.
Oh dear, not another.
Pimple dick alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
Who's the pimple dick this week, sir? It's clearly Sar because he's frozen. And he's muted his mic. That's absolutely awesome. So I'm assuming his pimple dick is Virgin Media again. Hello, Sar. Have you disappeared, sir? Well, I know I've got a sneaky pimple dick, and I think it's linked to the same one that Sai is going to be bringing up, hopefully. Are you back, sir?
Did I disappear then?
You froze with a muted mic. I was just saying. I assume your pimple dick is going to be the same one that I was going to bring up. We had some more fun from the lovely Marty Jannetty this week. So a YouTuber, a Twitter follower at Sir_Wilkins, he posted a tweet up saying, "So I woke up wondering why Marty Jannetty had posted a picture of him, my boy Scotty RIP, and me, and this wild ass caption, and it's essentially Marty Jannetty hugging two African American guys, and the caption is, I ask you this: if you woke up with a D word in your mouth and a D word in your ass, which one would you take out first?" Oh, I mean, this guy is a weird person, isn't he?
He's just an asshole, to be fair. I look at some of the homophobic comments he makes, some of the racist comments he has made, despite the fact he then protests to anyone who says he's racist by saying some of my wifes are black. He's just an absolute piece of crap, I think. And I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because I've been seeing posts from Jannetty on Facebook, especially for a long time. And he's a weird dude. And he's obviously got issues. You know, he's also got mental issues from being dropped on his noggin far too much. Of course, that's what happens to a lot of these guys.
And years of drug abuse. Yeah,
of course. I mean, his out of the ring activities are quite well documented with regards to, you know, his well, cocaine basically, isn't it? That's what's got him in trouble. Majority, I think he's been fired 7 separate times from WWE, and over half of those were for cocaine abuse.
Ridiculous.
Painkillers as well. I appreciate he's got a messed up ankle and he takes the painkillers and to deal with that, but he's got an issue with those as well. So I'm led to believe, obviously I don't know the guy personally, I can't say for a fact, but he is just an absolute tool. But it's actually not him who is the pimple dick for me this week, Magsy. It's actually somebody associated with him.
Wow, don't believe Cassidy.
No. Good old Al. The new and improved Rockers, the greatest tag team of all time, just for that one particular week in 1996. This is an individual called Dan Mirade or Dan Mirade. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And he is associated with Marty Jannetty because he makes videos with him and does almost like live shows on a Thursday. I think it's via YouTube, very similar to what we do, and a podcast with him on occasions. And I say on occasions because there's plenty of moments where Jannetty simply doesn't turn up, and so on. So, you know, standard practice, I suppose, Mr. Jannetty. But it's not Jannetty that I'm directing this disappointment and this anger at this week. It is the individual who does the shows with him. Now, this week we had the horrible, sad news of the passing of Daphne from WCW and TNA. I knew her from as well. I thought Daphne was awesome. I thought I was always a bit of a rocker, a bit of a goth is a bit of a strong word for me. I wasn't quite a goth, but that's how I was and still am to a degree. I thought Daphne was gorgeous. You hear all these stories about her being such a wonderful, nice person. And she's obviously been struggling for a while with mental health issues, other issues as well. And we had the horrific Instagram video where was it a live video, or was it when she recorded and uploaded? Or
no, I believe it was live. And parts of it were uploaded to Twitter by accounts that will remain nameless. And they point blank refused to take it down, even when pretty much all of the wrestling community were begging them to take it down. Just horrific. And so sad as well to see. She was clearly mentally hurting, had some severe issues, and to put that up and leave it up for essentially for clout and for views and for followers. It was a horrific thing to do.
Yeah, it was. And basically, for those who aren't aware, and I'm not going to go into details because it wasn't the video flagged up on an Instagram notification. It was very late at night. I was still sat up doing a few things. I clicked on the video. It's not great. She's in a bad way. She's visibly upset. She's saying about how alone she is. Some people say that in parts of the video you can actually see a firearm on screen. I'm not sure. I didn't see that clearly myself, but that's what a few people said. There was obvious intent there for Daphne to do herself harm. We then find out that by the time the morning has come around, she's no longer with us. All the signs point to her taking her own life. And that's a horrible. I mean, she gave me many years of great entertainment, first in WCW, but mainly in TNA. Just horrible thing. So that's bad enough. However, this Dan Murad, I'll say Murad, just if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I don't fucking care, to be honest.
Yeah. Tough shit.
He had recorded a video with Marty Jannetty, who he works with, and had recorded Jannetty's thoughts on concussion issues, which apparently Daphne suffered with, and his thoughts on Daphne's passing and the video that was uploaded. And I stress to everyone, especially people who are under the age of 18, please do not go and seek this video out. If there is anywhere you can still find it, you do not want to see it. I've seen it. You don't want to. Trust me. No. Okay? Please do not do this.
It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah. Remember Daphne for who she was on screen as opposed to this. If you haven't seen her, go back and watch some of her WCW stuff or TNA stuff especially. Was a fantastic run. That's what the Daphne we want to remember, not the Daphne from this Instagram video. However, this guy made a big deal about having Marty Jannetty's thoughts on this sad occurrence, his thoughts on the concussion issues, his thoughts on Daphne in general, the video, and everything that went on. First of all, I don't really understand why anyone would want Marty Jannetty's thoughts on anything, never mind something as sensitive as this. But secondly, this is the part that I stumble with, this part I struggle with. He's put it on a Patreon behind a paywall, Mags.
So you're paying for his inane ramblings about a subject he shouldn't be talking about.
A subject that was very newsworthy, I suppose, for the wrong reasons. It's not something that should be, I think, treated the way that this Dan Murad has. When questioned, there was an individual who commented on the post by the name of Vince. So I won't give his surname because he seems like he's one of the good guys. He says, "Come on, Dan, how can you have used her death for Patreon sales?" And basically trying to profit from what's happened. He knows this is, if you logged into any social media platform, Daphne's name and even the term Instagram Daphne or whatever was all over the place. It was on Twitter, it was on Facebook. You couldn't get away from it. So he knows that having that linked to his paywall, his Patreon, is going to bring people over there with the hope of getting a few extra dollars out of them to view this video of someone who is not okay mentally, has addiction problems, talking about somebody who was also struggling mentally, who then went to a very dark place and the tragedy that happened. Dan responds, "It was the quickest way to put it online. Instead of waiting until Marty Jannetty's show Thursday night, as he might try to help with the costs of bringing you his show for free, his appearances for free, paying for his airfare, paying for his hotel, studio costs, etc. So basically, this Dan is saying he couldn't put the show up for free. That was an impossibility. He had to put it behind the paywall because he didn't want to wait until Thursday when he does his usual free show. So I'm calling bullshit on that straight away. This doesn't cost anyone any money to watch. If me and Maxie wanted to, we could schedule another video for 10 minutes after this one finishes, an hour after this one finishes, whatever. So
Chain Wrestling After Dark, fellas.
That's it. So straight away,
it's a thing.
Straight away, I'm calling this Dan Murad a bullshitter on that front. My daughter is 11. My youngest daughter is 11. She can upload a video to YouTube if she really wanted to, and it would cost nothing. So fuck off, Dan.
Yeah,
you liar.
And especially if he wanted to have like his heartfelt thoughts and Marty's heartfelt thoughts on it, it would have been very respectful to put a video up to give their thoughts on somebody who they potentially new in the wrestling business. But to say, you can listen to our thoughts as long as you pay our $5 a month Patreon. That's scum. And you said it in the chat. He's not a pimple dick. He's a knob. And pimple dicks are idiots who do dumb things. This is a prick profiting off the mental illness and ultimately the passing of a very beloved wrestler. He's a knob. Simple as that.
I mean, the issue I've got is the stupidity comes into it now. He continues to try and explain himself away. Trust me, I don't think it would be. Nobody wants to see me in my shirt off.
We'd end up owing people money.
Yeah, Chain Wrestling After Dark. I'm not sure about that. He says it's the quickest way to get Genetti's thoughts up. Load of shit. We just covered that. He then says having this and getting people to pay for this helps with Genetti's airfare and other things to get his appearances for free for these people. So again,
is airfare to do what though? To record his thoughts. To record his thoughts.
So he's already stating that actually, yes, I am doing this for money. I am doing this to be able to do, having just literally said moments ago, no. This Vince character, again, much respect to this individual. He says, couldn't you have picked any other topic to promote for your Patreon? This is in bad taste. And Dan responds with, is extremely newsworthy and sensitive. And goes on.
Want to make money off it.
Yeah, and then we got some fucking idiot here called Mike Coffin who states, "Don't slander Dan's name again" to this guy asking questions. But he can fuck off and always an idiot.
Well, I hope it cost him more in Patreon subscriber losses than it made him money.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a horrific state of affairs. I think it's a horrible, horrible thing to be doing. And then the stupidity to try and defend what you're doing by saying it's not for money, but we want you to pay the money.
Yeah.
Fuck off, mate. You're a piece of crap.
Yeah, like you said, this could have easily been uploaded because Patreon usually they have links to YouTube, which are then privatized videos, so you can't just access them off YouTube. You have to go through the Patreon allowed links, but they are essentially still YouTube videos. So he could have easily said, right, this YouTube video is going out for absolutely no cost. These are our thoughts on the passing of poor Daphne. There we go. To lock it behind a paywall is scumbag. Absolute scumbag.
So, yeah, there we go. I don't want any association with that guy. I don't want that guy watching any shows we do. I don't want any... if any time this individual, for whatever reason, happens to pop up in a discussion on a Radio Tekkers show, podcast, whatever, if anyone out there listening has that say, fuck him off, get him out of the chat. He ain't welcome.
Yep. I'm going to play up to an overused chain wrestling trope now. He can get to fuck.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Lovely little blast from the past. Wonderful stuff. Should we move on to something a little bit more chirpy, Mags?
Yeah, and I actually want to just bring up someone who's in the chat, someone who's been a massive supporter of us from day one. Scottish Danny here in the chat. He's joining in the conversation, but I actually wanted to bring him up because he made his podcast debut this week.
Oh, okay.
he was on Unbooking the Territory with our good friends Rob and Dan, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's a great episode, really, really good fun. So when you get time, definitely go and check out our good friends Dan Griffin and Rob over on Unbooking the Territory, and start with this episode because Dan is superb on it.
Yeah, that's one I'm going to be listening to hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow. It's just the way my week kind of drops. I end up listening to them in the evenings through the week now. Also, on that note about our sort of, I suppose, podcasting brothers, I guess. I'm not sure how to word it. Our little gang, I suppose. Our Monday club, potentially. Monday club's something that happens when you drink at Wetherspoons, isn't it? Is that right? That's
when you're an alcoholic and you want to justify drinking early in the week.
Okay, Monday Club then. I think it's next week. By the time our episode comes out next Monday night, we should have the return of the fantastic Bang Bang podcast.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. Andy, if you're in the chat, if you're not, why not? Where are you? It's bath night. Come on, mate. You know,
I've been booked for an episode as well, and I've given my topic. It looks like he's going because obviously Steve is kind of a bit disillusioned with wrestling, so he's taking an extended hiatus. So Andy's bringing on guests every week, and they're going to be covering essentially what happened in wrestling this week or throughout history. So yeah, I've picked man. It should be a fun episode. Can't wait to record it. And yeah, he's going to be having lots of friends and fans of the podcast on. So yeah, definitely get involved.
Yeah, I'm speaking to him Streif tomorrow, actually, I think.
Oh, look at you first on the list. That's because you were Steve's favourite podcast, that's why.
Me? I don't know about that, mate. I don't know about that. First on the list, probably just because my name popped up earlier in the line or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And whilst we're kind of like pushing other content, we've got a podcast that's going to be coming to Radio Tekkers very, very soon. And here's a little flyer for it. Oh, boy.
Cream soda.
Nice. You like cream soda?
Yeah.
You're a delinquent as far as I'm concerned.
I love cream soda, mate, but it's got to be the cheap £1 shit. The good stuff's too sweet.
That makes no sense in itself. Cream soda is rank. I don't know.
It's
not lemonade,
flavor, isn't it? That's all it is.
Now I like vanilla, but I don't like cream soda. It's rank.
Well, then you're the delinquent, idiot.
That promo
It's
tickles me every single time. It's getting me so hard for that show. You're a fucking delinquent. It's brilliant.
Again, much credit to Benny Mack, my co-host for the waiting room. He's the guy behind all of that technical side of things. It's amazing. It's, really looking forward to it. We're very close to finishing season 1. We had a slight delay. Benny hasn't been very well, and he had a bit of bad news as well. So we've delayed a couple of episodes by a week or so. But season 1 should be finished very, very soon and with you in the next couple of weeks, I hope. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's me not talking about wrestling, which is weird.
It's going to be weird.
It is. It's going to be very strange. Not talking about wrestling, though. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something non-wrestling. Oh, what a link.
Yes. And look at that. We're going back to the old school as well.
Yes, back to the old school.
Oldie but goldie.
Now, we're already 29 minutes or so into the show, into the live broadcast. So we're going to run through as many of these as we can get through in the order they arrived into us on Twitter, and a couple DMs and so on. I'll run through as many as I can. If we get time, because we still do have to talk a little bit of wrestling at some stage, because we are a wrestling podcast, remember that. If we get time, yes, as Scottish Danny requested, I believe it was Scottish Danny on Twitter, I will get to the Aerosmith story. If we don't,
we'll make time for that. Shall we just cut Matt's stories out? No,
let's not. Because we start with Matt. We start with Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. Always going to be the way on Drunk Stories, and this is Drunk Stories Part 4. So it's fun.
How you absolute drunken reprobates that you filled this segment 4 times with your antics, you animals. We absolutely love you.
Yeah, it is great. It is great. It makes me feel really welcome because, I mean, I entered this podcasting world only really knowing Magsy, and there's so many pissheads out there. I feel at home. So it's nice, you know. Dan starts. He was on a stag do in Edinburgh in 2015, watching the Champions League final in a pub.
This is a different Dan one. Dan has clearly got more.
There's quite a few, mate.
Let me find the other Dan one. There we go.
At halftime, he went to the toilet thinking he'd locked the door. Lo and behold, and a log and a half in, he sees the door swing open. So no, hadn't locked that door. A burly Scotsman just stares at him for a split second, dumbfounded, as he sits there frozen. He then grabs the door, yells sorry, and his only response was, "Why are you apologising? You just had to watch me shit." But he says that's not the funniest bit. While his toilet misfortune got a few deserved laughs and mockery, the next day, the father of the bride started drinking at 10 a.m. Again, still whilst out on this stag do weekend, I'm assuming. Either that or he's part of the Monday club we aforementioned. By 9 p.m., we were in a bar and he went to the toilet. Came back, told us he had to leave because he was far too drunk. Fair enough. These things happen, you know. People go a bit crazy, don't they? The problem was his exit was followed by a waft of a shitty smell that descended like a brown mist. That's the song that Jimi Hendrix didn't write, isn't it? Brown haze, you know. His other son-in-law went to check the toilet, realized his dad had actually shit himself, left the soiled underwear in the store, and just gone.
Oh, wow.
It was so bad, they never even mocked him for it.
I mean, I would have certainly mocked him for it.
I'd have brought it up. It just made the wedding really awkward, Dan continues, as everyone on the stag do just had to skirt around it as they all reminisce about the stag do itself. So,
oh, that's horrific. How does Dan get himself in these predicaments?
Yeah, I know. Dan continues. Another time he turned up at his local, half steaming, after an afternoon on the piss at the rugby. One of his mate's girlfriends, who he'd never met before, was mindless drunk, and so was he was the most sober, so he took to carrying her and to put her in a taxi. The awkward part for her, and funny part for Dan himself, was a few weeks later when they were all out again and she introduced herself to Dan and had a right laugh. He had a right laugh, explaining how they'd already met. They're still great mates to this day. Man, can you imagine being that steamo that you can't remember meeting somebody?
That's actually a heartwarming story compared to the bloke shitting himself and thinking, I'm going to just take my box shorts off and leave them here and carry on with the rest of the night. This is actually a nice story, so I'm glad you've balanced it out, Dan.
Is that? I don't see anything wrong with that. If you have an accident, I'm not saying this is something that I have experienced before we carry on, but you have an accident. Surely you would just leave the pants behind. You wouldn't take them home with you, would you?
No, I'm not advocating carrying around a pair of shitty pants in your pocket.
Just asking at the bar if they got a carrier bag or something.
Yeah, I mean, or at least attempt to flush them, maybe. I don't know. But then to crack on with the rest of your night going commando, knowing that the only protection from shitting yourself is now sat at the back of a toilet. That's pretty worrying.
Yeah, definitely. At Scottish Juggalo, our good buddy Danny, he sent a video message here that I will retweet at the end of the show. You can see a bit of it here, but I think you need the sound. I'm not sure if we can do that, and I'm not sure if you really want to, listening to what this guy was saying and behaving. I'll retweet it at the end of the show on the Chain Wrestling Twitter account, so you can go and check that out. He says, an everyday occurrence in London, and it's a not very pleasant individual being not very pleasant. But again, drink does funny things.
I mean, that looks like drink maybe mixed with severe mental health issues.
Yes, very possibly, mate. Very possibly. But I suppose living in London could do that to people.
Yeah, because London is shit.
Yes.
Simple as that.
It is. Let me scan through here. At UTT Rob, sent to us via DM. He says, one time when he was a teenager, one time when I was a teenager, his parents were away. he said he cycled to Morrison's and got a massive bottle of strong Perry, which I'm guessing cider, Maxie, isn't it?
Perry is like pear cider.
Right, okay. It was the largest, cheapest thing they had. Went home and drank it. Getting pretty smashed, I'd imagine. He realised in the middle of the night that his parents would find the bottle in the bin and he'd get in trouble. So in his drunken wisdom at this moment in time, he decided to run out, take it out the bin whilst his parents were asleep, and bury it somewhere in the back garden.
That's, dramatic.
He said he never drank Perry cider again. I can imagine that, because you make bad decisions, don't you? When you drink, sometimes you can make really silly decisions that you think at the time
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I'll tell you very briefly about one I've got now. I remember having an absolutely insane session to the point where I believe I must have been, had some form of alcohol poisoning because of what was consumed that weekend. And I stayed around a mate's house who I'm no longer in contact with. I'm not going to give his name. He's a piece of shit. So I'm quite glad I did this now, looking back in hindsight. I was that hammered. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. I can remember doing it. And I can remember watching myself do this. But it weren't for like 2 weeks later that I could remember this happening, if that makes sense. I stood up, absolutely smashed off my face in his bedroom, because I was sleeping on the floor. He was on his bed. I couldn't make it to the toilet because I was stumbling all over the place. So to find somewhere, I don't know what my mind was thinking, secretive maybe, I don't know, somewhere tucked away. I pulled up the carpet and the underlay in the corner of his bedroom, pissed in the corner of his room on the floorboards, and then put the carpet back down and just went back to sleep. Now, the issue was about...
Where did you think the piss would go?
I don't know. That's the point. I don't know. I must have been about 16, 17 around this time, I think. The thing was, I reckon, a month later, 6 weeks later, they were moving house. And I was in the house when they were talking about the smell in the box bedroom.
There's a weird smell of piss in this.
Yeah, and like the underlay was apparently like really manky and moldy, and and I was just like, I gotta go now.
Every time we stand in that corner, we get a yellow wet sock. I don't know what's going on here.
Damn, what's going on? Oh
wow!
Oh my goodness. Let me just scan through this very quickly, because this is in a few different parts here. This is from George Burns. We have here.
Okay.
1847. That one was sent 3631. Okay, he says Wild Turkey is a drink he doesn't drink anymore, which I'm assuming that sounds like a type of whiskey, Max. Is that right?
Yeah, Wild Turkey is a cracking whiskey. It's a bourbon. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He says he and a friend went out to blow off some steam one Monday night, started drinking shots, and he suggested that. Had 3 of them, and was all he could taste for days.
It's not a whiskey, I'd say, that has an overly long kind of aftertaste, but I suppose if you're not used to it, then it can have an aftertaste, I suppose.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a massive whiskey fan, but I'll tell you what, I was drinking Bell's that night of weed under that carpet. I can remember that.
The classiest whiskey of all, Bell's.
But that's mine. That's one of my things. That's Bell's now is something I cannot drink anymore because of how ill I was that night. Because I was very, very sick after I, pissed on the underlay. So...
I mean, you were sick whilst you were doing it, to be fair.
I wasn't, actually. I wasn't. I was sick the next day a lot. I was really, really poorly. This George Burns, really good of you to send us messages here. I think I'm missing the first one. Let me just have a quick look. Hold on a second. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm not finding him on the chat. So whilst you're doing that, I'll cover our head honcho here at Radio Tekkers, yes. Tanner. He said he went to a high school house party, had to use the bathroom, walked in and found 2 very attractive girls who were clothed in the bathtub together, very, very drunk. One of the girls started singing Stand By Me. The other girls said how beautiful that song was. They started kissing each other. A young Tanner obviously thought he'd stick around to see where the night would take him. Then one of the girls vomited on the girl who was singing, which then caused the singing girl to vomit on the other. He left the restroom and went outside. The end.
Brilliant stuff.
What a great story. What an absolutely great story by Tanner Pruitt here in the chat. Tanner Pruitt, people.
You reprobate. George Burns again, and it is at George B01065217 on Twitter. He sent us a story here that's in a few different parts, but the order is kind of jumbled, so please bear with me. But he basically says he was at a bar with some of his friends, ended up speaking to some girls there. His mates wanted to leave. He said, no, I'm staying, because he's thinking, hey, I'm odds on here. So he gives the keys to his place to his friends where they want to go and carry on the party and so on. He speaks to these girls a little bit longer, says about coming back to his. She throws a drink in his face and says, you got to know me pretty well last weekend, actually. So obviously he's already met up with this young lady the week before and has forgotten, so he looks pretty poor in her eyes. Decides to leave and join his friends at the party. He's walking along trying to catch them. His place was about a 15-minute walk from the city centre, so he calls them. He asks them to slow down and he'll catch up. They tell me they've taken a little detour. I follow the detour and there's no sign of them anywhere. Eventually I'm told they're back at his place. So he heads straight home to find effectively a construction site set up in his living room. One of them had fallen through a paper door covering of an Argos being fitted out, one of his friends. There was a table saw, a men at work sign, high-vis vests, hard hats everywhere, and rather randomly a stank or drain cover he has here in brackets. So they've basically robbed all this stuff and took it to his flat, which is fantastic. Can you imagine walking into your flat and seeing all this stuff? He was furious he'd done that until he'd seen the stank. And he says he kept the men at work sign for many years in his bedroom as a reminder of that night. I had a thing about collecting road signs for a little while, to be honest. I don't know if my mum, dad, or sister are in the chat. I don't think they are this week.
What, you're stealing road signs?
Collecting, Max. Yeah,
but collecting without having permission to collect.
Well, my way of thinking about it is
stealing.
I was going to give them back at one stage. I'm borrowing them.
Did you get them late at night when there was nobody around?
Yes.
So you stole road signs essentially.
Okay, fair enough. But the issue was, it wasn't just stealing the road signs. Sometimes it'd be middle of the afternoon.
It was the lamppost.
Yeah,
the garden full of lampposts.
One of the worst ones was I had like the red and white striped barrier that goes around the when they're like working on the holes on the floor, and there's also like a crowd barrier. It's about 6 foot whatever long, red and white striped things. I decided I wanted one of them. But this is middle of the afternoon. I've been drinking in my local with my friend Harry, and I saw this hole in the ground they were working on. I thought, I'm just going to take it home. And again, I'm still living at my parents at this stage. I'm 17, 18, whatever it may have been. So it was almost like a double jeopardy thing. It was almost like a double challenge, because you had to get away with taking the road sign, the traffic cone, the flashing lights, whatever it was you were acquiring that evening or afternoon. But then I had to get it in the house past my parents as well.
And a big orange flashing light coming, sneaking up the stairs.
Well, I'll get to the orange flashing light in just a second. But I remember opening the front door, and the stairs to my bedroom were directly in front of me in the hallway. I mean, Sharon will know this because my parents still live in the same house now, so of course my wife has been around there. The front door is a direct right turn. I've got this long red and white shiny barricade, and I'm thinking, I've got to get this upstairs. I get halfway up the stairs, and I have shall we say, a little bit of a stumble, because I'm tired, Max. It's been a bit of a walk. Let's say that, shall we? And my dad comes out the front room, takes one look at me. I stink of booze. I stink of cigarettes. I got this bloody great road sign. And my dad looks me straight in the eyes and goes, I can't be arsed with dealing with your mum if she sees you with that. Get it upstairs quick, and I won't say a fucking word. And he goes back in the front. And he went back in the front room.
He should have given you an hand with it if he had anything about him, to be fair.
Well, yeah, potentially. The yellow flashing light. You remember the box yellow flashing lights they have on the roadworks? Yeah, I always wanted one of them
with a big square battery.
Yeah. I thought this is great. So I went out the Friday night and I got hold of one. I put it in the back room, hid it under some clothes and some washing and stuff like that on the table. Again, don't know why I hid it like that on the dining room table, but that was just what I did. Same, I don't know why, went out to bed. Following day, got out, went to football, came home, had a shower, went uptown with the boys. And my mum explained that her and my dad were quite surprised that it suddenly started just glowing yellow in their back room whilst they were watching television. They thought someone was landing in the back garden or something, where this light was just flashing on and off, like, you know, because they're on a flaming timer. I didn't know they were on a timer, so I don't know what I thought, whether people walked around turning them on manually or what, but
wow. Andy in the chat saying he stole a foot and mouth outbreak road sign and managed to get it on board a flight to Cabos and put it up in his apartment. That is outstanding. Outstanding.
That is glorious.
And Sharon says she's surprised that the flashing light is not in your dad's shed. To be
Do you
fair,
know what? Actually, it might well be. It might well be. I wouldn't surprise me at all if some of the stuff is. I know when my dad was doing recovery truck driving part-time, he'd have his other jobs, and then he started doing the recovery truck driving. He was moaning that they weren't giving him enough traffic cones when he was pulling over on the side of the road, and he felt it was dangerous and stuff. So I just got pissed one night and rolled him a load of traffic cones. So he had a load of extra traffic cones to use when he went out.
A totally different road incident.
Yeah.
But make sure that your dad's was fine.
But my dad was over the moon because he had a couple of extra traffic cones to use, so he was happy about that. The magnificent Matt Willis at the Matt Attack UK, our good buddy Matt, who is doing fantastic stuff at the moment for charity, fundraising for prostate cancer research, isn't it, Magsy? So again, it's been shared, retweeted, and so on the Chain Wrestling's social media. You can find Matt's Twitter himself at the Matt Attack UK. Find that, track that down. Matt's been sharing it, we've been sharing it, and donate some bloody money. Even if it's just a $5, whatever, it all helps. Just I mean, what can you get for a $5? You can't get a pack of fags and a pint for a $5 no more. So you might as well just donate to the charity, mate.
And he's doing 11,000 steps minimum per day for the whole of September. Yeah, he's doing great work. Good on him. Definitely go and if you can afford, definitely go and donate. And if you can't, go and rob some traffic cones, sell them on, and then donate the proceeds.
Fantastic. Matt says he's got a couple of stories. He was in Blackpool with his mates, and one of them, we'll call him Trevor because that's his name. After having so much to drink, decided to try and dive into the sea from the pier, but the tide was out. Okay, I'm guessing that's not a clever move then. If the tide's out, you're just diving straight into
wet sand, essentially.
Matt says he ended up having to literally spear him a la Edge off the sea defense to stop him from diving headfirst onto the beach. Another one is when he was also out with Trevor and he kept being Larry. This time he wouldn't shut up and kept harassing someone after the group we were with somehow smashed the toilet bowl. He said that he threatened to give him a stunner. He kept going and going until ultimately Matt, in the middle of the boozer, gave him a stone cold stunner. Now that is something I would love to see. Just randomly be at a bar and turn around and see a bloke like Matt just randomly give someone a full-on stone cold stunner. That would be fantastic. And I hope his mate had a gob full of booze at the time as well and fell back and sprayed it like Shane McMahon used to.
Yeah, sold it like Scott Hall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Where are we? Here we go. Anya, my daughter, Anya Bassett at Anya Nicole _14 on Twitter.
And she said, I have to make sure the picture is up on the screen.
I'm not sure, because that's her boyfriend, that is. I'm not sure we should be showing that.
There he is, this guy right here.
I'm not sure we should be showing that, and you're like, yeah, that's the one. You prick.
There, this is the guy right here.
Harv, as in Harvey, her boyfriend, was found passed out with his trousers down when he got dropped off at Anya's house. Both his mum and Anya's mum had to grab his arms and had to kick his ass to get him out of the car. He then face planted into the road, which of course he would do. If someone's pulling his arms and you're kicking his butt, he's going to fly straight out onto his face. That's just, physics. I can do science. Anya's neighbor's cat then used Harvey as a sleigh inside the house. He's such a clown. See, to me, you look at that picture there. This
guy right here.
That's part of a learning curve for me, at some state or another.
That's going to get a cheeky like and retweet.
Is it really?
Just to make sure everybody knows that Harvey is a drunken mess.
Oh, dear. Okay, and finally from my side, Mags, we have Andy from Bang Bang Podcast, again via a DM, and this was sent right before we went on air. So Andy, that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. He says, some late entries for Drunk Stories. Many moons ago, when he was young, free and single, he went on a date with a girl, attempted to impress her by downing a flaming sambuca, ended up vomiting fire on her feet. Oh, amazing. Later that night, he attempted to perform an intricate dance move with her, and she ended up dislocating her kneecap.
So he's scolded her, give her third-degree burns, and then dislocated her kneecap. Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. He took her to A&E in Torbay. Is that how you say it? Torbay? Is that right? Torbay?
Yeah.
Torbay?
Torbay, yeah.
Torbay, okay. He was pissed up and fell asleep in the reception for several hours. When he woke up, he couldn't find her anywhere. Rang her phone. She was back in Bristol, where they come from.
She'd gone home and fucking left him.
Her parents had picked her up. Andy had been asleep in A&E for about 6 hours.
Wow, that is brilliant. And I hope they saw him and thought, yeah, leave that fucker there. We're going. And he confirmed the second date never happened. Shock.
No.
You astound me that he didn't get a second date.
Oh, dear me.
We've got another quick Dan Griffin story here in the chat. On his brother's stag in Portugal, one guy couldn't handle the day sesh and spewed all over the floor outside his room. My dad went to mock him as he slept it off and slipped in the cleaned up sit.
Oh, no.
He had not long had his hip replaced and narrowly avoided cracking the back of his head on a step, but he was so drunk he popped back up and laughed his ass off. So he no-sold it. He essentially kicked up and no-sold it. That's brilliant.
Unbelievable. Oh, absolutely fantastic stuff, everybody. Again, on Twitter, in the DMs, wherever.
We're not ignoring this one here from Scottish Danny. Says,
which one's that?
Is this the day that we finally get to hear the much anticipated story involving police and Aerosmith?
Yes.
That
Yes.
Is
right.
the day.
That's good. I nearly forgot about that, actually. Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Okay. First of all, it doesn't directly involve Aerosmith. I wasn't out with Aerosmith. Okay. It's not like
Steven Tyler.
Yeah. Just me and the Smith lads just hanging around, having a couple of cans of special brew on the street in the London corner. Okay. Basically, going back, it must be pushing 20 years ago now. Aerosmith were playing an outdoor show in London. The venue, I'd have to have a look on the back of the t-shirt, which I do still have somewhere, but it doesn't fit me anymore. My daughter sleeps in it now, where I'm far too wide to fit into that. I believe it was Hyde Park, but yeah, basically it was a situation where we would drive so far from Gloucester, me, my friend, my girlfriend at the time, and I believe there was a fourth person with us, but again, I'm jogging my memory right now, I can't remember. We would drive so far to, I believe, Oxford, and get the park and ride from Oxford to London. So that's what we did, and we were leaving quite early in the morning, and as was tradition then and is normally quite often now, I'm not going to lie, when I go to gigs, I'll start drinking relatively early. So me and my friend had consumed a decent amount of cans by the time we'd reached the park and ride. The festival opened, it was like an all-day or 2-day festival maybe, and this was the Saturday, and Aerosmith headlined the Saturday. We arrived there about midday-ish, I think. It must have been about midday, half 12, something like that, when the doors opened. So we must have left Gloucester 7-ish, maybe, I would assume. So I was drinking cans all that time, all the way up. Got to Oxford, got on the park and ride. We're told very strictly, do not drink or consume alcohol on this coach. So we'd already made plans for this and had emptied out vodka and Coke into big 2-litre bottles of Cokes, which just looked like Coca-Cola. So we were just swigging out of these, effectively half and halves or whatever my friend had made. It was quite rough. Oh, bloody hell, Magsy, that picture of me's back in the corner, for crying out loud. I arrived at...
The viewers requested it, unfortunately.
I arrived at Hyde Park, shall we say, a little tipsy. where we were parking up, you had effectively park and ride spots. They were all down the one side of the road, and then you had 2 lanes of traffic one way, 2 lanes of traffic the other way, and then Hyde Park. So we were parking up the other side, and it had been raining all day. It had been lashing down in London all day, all weekend, all week, whenever it was, And they had some security guys there, some stewards, all the high-vis people, who were helping with the festival, who I think originated originally from maybe Nazi Germany, because they were very, very enthusiastic and stern about what they thought was right and wrong, and what you were allowed to do and what you were not allowed to do, and if you caused any trouble, they were going to get the police involved, and there was police at either end of the road, and all this, and they were very, literally just getting off the bus. They were barking at us and saying, "You do this, you do that, you go this way. We're in charge of the traffic," and all this sort of stuff. So we had to go through this subway. It's relatively wide, just walking subway down, cuts under the traffic, comes right up by the gate to get into the Hyde Park entrance. I keep saying Hyde Park, it may have been somewhere else, but I'll use Hyde Park for the benefit of the story. We got down the stairs, me, my girlfriend at the time, and my friends, and where it had been raining so much, the subway had filled up with water. Not filled up, but it was up to, in my mind, I think it was up to my waist. But my friend, when I was talking to him at the festival I went to last weekend, said it wasn't that high. I'm remembering this wrong because I was pretty smashed, he said. But he had to roll his trousers up above his knees, he remembers. So he took his shoes and socks off, rolled his trousers up. My girlfriend at the time basically hitched her skirt up and took her shoes off. I looked at it, and it was like dirty brown rainwater, and it was a lot, and it was still raining as well. And these stewards were really screaming and shouting, "You get down there, you must do this, you must walk through that, you're not allowed to cross that road. You are not allowed to cross that road. And the police have said we're not allowed to let anyone cross that road. No one can cross, stay off the traffic, because that's where the coach is." I'm thinking, all right, mate, calm down, fucking hell. I just want to go watch a few bands, have a couple more beers, But I'm looking at this thing, and I'm thinking, nah, there could be needles or turds or anything in that water. I ain't walking through that. So my friends are gone. They're halfway across. They're wading through. They're like, I don't know, some kind of explorer in the undergrowth or whatever, ferreting through this
scuba diving all the way through this shit.
That's it. They're ferreting through this turd water, this needle Nile, I guess, for want of a better term. It's like a river full of God knows what. And I'm sort of looking and I'm thinking, I ain't doing that, no chance. And I glance over and I think, I can make that. Looking at the lines of traffic, I'm thinking, I can make that. I'm thinking I'm quite athletic still. I wasn't, but in a stretch of imagination. But I was in better lick than I am now. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, I can make that. Okay, there's 2 lanes of traffic, then there's a fence, and then 2 lanes of traffic. I'm looking at the fence, and it weren't very high. Maybe, I don't know, my waist, just above my waist. I'm thinking, if I've got enough speed up crossing the traffic, one jump, I'm over that fence. Keep running, I'm in the crowd. They ain't going to find me. No chance they're going to find me. And these stewards are screaming and shouting to the point where there's a policeman coming by again. And it really did feel like some sort of, real sort of military operation getting these people to go and watch it. It was ridiculous. I'm looking, I'm thinking, it's just a fence. It's just one flat piece of wire. I can clear that, no problem. So I have a look, and when the traffic lights at the one end changed, or the policeman stopped the traffic at one end, I'm looking, I think, okay, there's a gap in the traffic there. There's a gap in the traffic coming the other side. Now's my chance. And it was like the game Crossy Road, you're trying to line up the gaps in the traffic either way. Or Horace Goes Skiing, for those of you who are a little bit older, and you had to cross the road to get the skis on the old Spectrum or Amstrad, if you remember. And I'm thinking, once I go. I can't stop, because they're saying they get the police involved if they catch you on the road. I'm looking, I'm thinking, go. And I just bolted to the point where I'm that committed. I'm that committed. I put half a can down to make this run. Okay, right? I've gone and I'm running across it, and I'm thinking, this is brilliant. And I look at the fence, and I'm thinking, just one big jump, one big hurdle. And in my head, I'm picturing something from the Olympics. The one leg over, the second leg follows. I'm really majestically, my hair blowing behind me in the wind and the rain. And I'm thinking, I've got no turds on my shoes, pal. I'm happy, So I'm really going for it. And I jump, and in midair, I remember looking down and thinking, that's not an ordinary fence. Okay, that's a security fence. So rather than being one flat fence, one flat couple of wires, it was actually V-shaped if you took a cross-section of it. Mm-hmm. So whereas I was thinking I was going to jump over one piece, clear it, go, this fence was actually a couple of foot wide. Now, I hadn't prepared for that, and I was really committed. And I ended up dropping into this. It's almost like yeah, basically. So it's like if you imagine bike locks that you get sometimes, they have the rubber outing around the metal cable on the inside. That's what this fence was made of, but it was covered in vandal paint. So I drop into this thing. And when I tried to fight to get out, if I was sober, I could have just hopped out and carried on going. But when I tried to fight to get out, I grabbed one of the cables, fell a bit more, and ended up tangled up in the middle of this fence.
Oh, my God.
My legs are up in the air, my arm was sticking out, but I'm still fighting, thinking, oh, my, and I can hear people screaming and shouting, get that bloke, he shouldn't be doing that. I'm thinking, oh, shit. I've spent 60 odd quid here to see Aerosmith. My mates at this stage are on the other side of the road already. They've made it. They're pissing themselves. They think this is hysterical. And all I can think of is, I'm not going to get to see Aerosmith. You know, the answer, Chris Cornell was there. This is a good lineup. And I'm thinking, I've traveled all this way. And the fact that I'm smashed at midday probably doesn't do me any favors. And I'm stuck in this fence. What the hell? So I'm thinking, okay, the only choice I have is when they get me out, I've got to make a second run for it.
I'll let them rescue me, and then I'm going to run away.
That was my plan. So these two security people came over. One was a young lass, and one was quite an older guy. He's probably my age now. This older guy who was with me, that's sort of 40 to mid 40s maybe. And he was very, very cross. This young girl was laughing. She thought it was fantastic. This guy was very, very cross, and he was shouting for this young girl to call the police over because I shouldn't have done this. And he was really. You know, he was really on his. He was very proud of his high-vis jacket. He was. I'll tell you that now. They basically untangled me. I had vandal paint across my face, like I was painting myself up like something needed
like the stalker, Barry Windham.
There you go, Barry Windham. Yeah. The Aerosmith T-shirt. If I can find it in time for next week's show, the week after the show, I'll find the shirt. There is actually still a line of vandal paint stained onto it that you can't get out. Whereas I got tangled up in this fit. They basically got me out. And the young girl just let go of me and almost gave me a nod, as if to say she knew what I was thinking. Like, just go for it.
Plan. She knew what the plan was.
So she sort of let me go. And I sort of looked at the old guy, and he had hold of my denim jacket like this. And I thought, well, I'm not going to leave my jacket because that's the one with the patches on the back and everything. I worked hard on that. Well, but if I just fucking shrugged my shoulders and I ran, because in my head I'm thinking, black T-shirt, jeans, denim jacket. That's what every fucker's wearing over there. There's 60,000 of us over there. If I can get in there, they won't find me. And I had to zigzag through this bloody traffic, avoid this flaming moped that came out of nowhere. Right?
Fucking Krypton factory his way into the festival. Brilliant.
I stumble over the curb, bump into my friend who helps me back onto my feet, and then he basically muscles me into the crowd behind him. So this security guy, again, I don't know. We'll call him Adolf just for the sake of it. He's yelling. He's yelling across, you come back, and that was it. So that's basically I saw Aerosmith. They were fantastic. It rained all day. I got soaking wet, but Aerosmith put on a brilliant show. The guy from Run DMC was there and did Walk This Way with them. It was a great time. It was a great time.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah, it was fun. But I got a few of those when it comes to gigs and so on. Anya there in the chat, the jacket her mum sewed patches. No, Anya, no. This is my denim jacket with different patches on and so on. The one your mum sewed patches on for me when we were together years and years ago, that's long gone. This one's a different jacket, and it was fun. It was fun. But that's kind of an insight as to what I did when it came to getting to see bands I wanted to see. There's a few other stories, sleeping rough to see Wasp a couple of times and stuff like that maybe we'll get into another time. But yeah, there we go. So I hope everyone's happy that they finally heard the Aerosmith story. I was panicked that it was built up a little bit too much, maybe.
No,
so
it lived up to the hype. Dan Griffin in the chat saying, did the vandal paint come off? And the answer is no. That's why Sarah has a beard. Because it's got to cover that. Yeah. But yeah, great story. Loved it.
Good stuff. I'm glad. Okay. I suppose well over an hour into the show. We better talk a bit of wrestling, Magsy, I suppose, aren't we?
We don't need to. That's enough. We can always churn in next week, but let's do it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Okie dokie then. Magsy won the poll.
Did I? Did I win the poll?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I'll tell you what, that comment of Sharon's there is spot on, actually. Sorry to go back to the non-wrestling thing we said. Yeah, I slept rough. That was in Dursley, seeing Wasp the night before we got kicked out of our house because our landlord was an arsehole and Sharon was 8.5 months pregnant at the time. That's a story for another day. Yeah, that was not a fun afternoon. But we'll get to that another time, maybe. Magsy won the poll. So, yeah. I'll tell you, I'm quite surprised, actually. I'm surprised. Not because this match wasn't entertaining, but I'm surprised because it's from the exact same event as the week before's match. I thought that might have gone against it.
It's essentially the match after, pretty much. The match after this. So, yeah, it was very tight, a close run thing. It could have gone either way, but eked out a victory.
Yeah, I thought that was going to work against it. The fact that we'd already been in 2002 and this exact pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. I also thought that War Games being the best War Games match, in my opinion, pre-NXT, shall we say, because I don't want to get into that argument again with people who love the NXT War Games. The old school War Games, the Jim Crockett Promotions NWA stuff, and the lineup that match had with Rick Rude, who was ultimately the link I used, Dustin Rhodes, Steamboat, Steve Austin, Bobby Eaton, all Anderson, all these wonderful guys. I'm really shocked that didn't win. But watching this match back, whereas it was only sort of 16 minutes long or whatever it was far better than I remember it being, Mags.
Yeah, it's a really good kind of passing of the torch style match.
Yeah, I think so. I think how good Shawn Triple H was from this pay-per-view, this match maybe I didn't look back on as favorably because I remember how good Shawn Triple H was. So watching this back for probably the first time in a couple of years, the first thing that really hits me, Maxie, is how fast the match is.
Yeah,
it seems like they just blitz through so much, don't they?
And how big and yet agile Brock is.
Yeah,
this is what he's not even 6 months into his original run in the company. Just absolutely decimating through everyone. Won the King of the Ring, choked out Hulk Hogan in the run up to this. You get that image of him spearing the blood over his chest. Yeah, this Brock looked like he was carved out of granite. Vince McMahon definitely masturbated over this Brock multiple times.
Oh my goodness, what an image I do not want anyone to have to think about. What was your thoughts then, Magsy? When was the last time you saw this before this week for this show? And what was your thoughts watching it back?
Yeah, I kind of like you. It's not a match that I'll go back to watch pretty regularly, but I always remember it from the posters. This was a period of WWE where they were doing some great, really kind of cool poster work. And there's one where there's Rock's in his iconic kind of a pose where he poses at the top of the turnbuckle with one fist up in the air. That's a really cool poster. And then you've got the one where they face off and Brock looks absolutely deranged. I remember the match being relatively quick. I remember it being fast paced and it being kind of like the crowning of what I think then he was the youngest WWE champion that they'd had in history, and the quickest as well, going from his debut in the company essentially to being the big dog. I thought, it'd be a cool match to go and revisit, and luckily it won. Yeah, I agree. It again, 16 minutes in, the match ultimately finishes, but barring a spot, I suppose 3/4 of the way through where we have a bear hug, which my thoughts on the bear hug in modern wrestling are quite well known, but in this instance it really works. Barring that, it seems like it was so quick. I don't know if it was a case of they had time cut and they were rushing through it, or if it was literally supposed to be this fast a contest anyway. But I was really took back by how quickly both of these guys worked together, how quickly they moved through certain moves, and it seemed like there wasn't an occasion watching, again, barring the bear hug 3/4 of the way through, that allowed
the viewer to sort of catch their breath, I guess.
No, absolutely not. And this was in a period where Brock was essentially doing what Goldberg did, just destroying people in 3 minutes, wrecking everybody, and moving on. So this was probably one of his longest matches up to this point, and yet it still felt very fast paced. And the whole kind of build up with the bear hug is because Rock had injured ribs. He'd been attacked by I think it was Triple H and Undertaker. So essentially, the build up to this match was Brock won King of the Ring, which guaranteed him a title shot at SummerSlam. But in the build up to SummerSlam, we had a triple threat at Vengeance, which was the Rock and Kurt Angle and Undertaker, which the Rock ended up winning. He was then attacked by Triple H, who I think was saying that should have been his position, and he went into this match with the injured ribs, essentially, which makes the majority of the story in this match, because the focus is on how much damage Brock can keep doing to those ribs.
Before we actually start the match, we have. Did you see the sort of little interaction before? Okay. With the Howard Finkel and
I did, yes.
What was going on there?
This was heel Howard Finkel.
Heel Howard Finkel.
Yeah, he was having an issue with Lillian Garcia kind of taking his spotlight, and it led to him getting kicked square in the potato sack, and that was a brutal kick. She put a lot of effort into that, to the point where she fell over, kicking Howard Finkel in the spuds. But he did get to hug Trish Stratus. I mean, would you take a kick in the spuds for that?
I would. But I don't think I need to state that. I don't think that's news to anybody, is it? So yeah, there we go. Trish. A little disappointed that we have Jim Ross then throw the commentary over to Michael Cole and Taz. Not that they did a bad job, but I'm a massive Jim Ross fan, as everyone knows. So I was a little bit like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and this was when they had split brands, though. Jim Ross was obviously on Raw, and this was essentially a SmackDown match, even though I think Brock at this time was kind of almost like a free agent. It was essentially a SmackDown match, so that's why we got casual wearing Michael Cole in his little polo neck and Taz, in his orange suit.
Yeah, he's an interesting chap, isn't he? Someone who's shapes like Taz shouldn't really wear orange. Do you know what I mean? Unless they're working for Willy Wonka, they shouldn't do that. I love The Rock's entrance here. Max, I lost you.
No, that was brilliant.
I love The Rock's entrance here, lying the belt down, almost like, say, crossing the line, so to speak, at the top of the entranceway, and then sprinting to the ring. It kind of really sets the tone for how quick and speedy this match. Well, I say the match is quick. It's not. It's a good length of time, but what happens so quickly, and The Rock's entrance kicks that off straight away, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think the whole kind of point of the entrance was that Rock was really worried. This was Brock was absolutely wrecking everybody in the company, and he was a scary dude, and that was kind of Rock realizing he'd have to hit the ground running. So he runs into the ring, slides in. He starts off pretty quick, gets a few punches in, and then it quickly goes sideways for The Rock, and he gets the living piss beat out of him for big periods in this match. Yeah.
My wife there in the chat stating that she loves The Rock. She does. She's on the same. Yeah, she likes him for a different reason. Unless Magsy he floats your boat, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if you can see it there, but I've got the old Rock tattoo.
Okay. Burnley Bull.
Yeah,
the Burnley Bull, yeah.
The Burnley Bull. Brilliant.
Yeah, and my wife here saying she doesn't like Brock Lesnar so much, which is again.
But that was the point. That was the point of the character of Brock Lesnar. You weren't meant to like him. You were meant to fear him.
Yeah. Early on, we get a really impressive I suppose military press, I guess is the right term, or guerrilla press, where Brock Lesnar holds the Rock above his head when he's on the outside, but he's making it look like he's picking up, I don't know, Marco Stunt or Spike Dudley or someone like that. When this guy, the Rock, he's what, 270 pounds, 260 pounds or whatever.
Yeah, 6'4", 270 pounds. It just shows how amazing a specimen Brock was. He, like him or love him, he is a generational talent. You will not get many wrestlers like Brock in your lifetime. So love him or hate him, once he actually does retire, we're losing a massive attraction in wrestling, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Sharon in the chat there is saying she's not going to get into that now. I will tell her off. Me and my wife not constantly, but we do have regular discussions about Brock Lesnar because my wife hates him. And again, entitled to your opinion, of course. I love Brock.
Your wrong opinion.
I love Brock. My wife can, she can see that he's got certain talents, of course, and he's important to the business. She just personally doesn't enjoy watching his stuff and so on, which is fair enough. There's some wrestlers I don't enjoy watching as well.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the Brock of recent times, he comes in and does as little as he can for the most amount of money, which is great business. But when he has a match that he's maybe facing someone a bit smaller, a bit of an underdog, Brock can go with the best of them. He really can. These matches with AJ, his match with Daniel Bryan, absolutely amazing matches. Brock can certainly hold his own in the wrestling ring. Yeah,
and I think these early runs show that as well. Especially, from this run here, you get. I mean, it's really fast. I suppose. Again, he's winning his first world title here in August. He's turned face in November at Survivor Series. From there, he's dropped the belt at Survivor Series, the Big Show.
The Big Show, yeah.
He then wins the Rumble in January. Main events WrestleMania in late March, early April. So we're looking at what, 9 months, and he's seen as the number one guy in the company.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the kind of writing on the wall from the first day that he came into the company. I mean, he was meant to destroy Stone Cold Steve Austin in his first match in the lead up to King of the Ring, and Stone Cold essentially took his ball and went home. Said he wasn't willing to lose to Brock. But then when he came in, and I think you first see him when he destroys the Hardys and just absolutely mauls them, and you knew that this was a guy who was either going to fall flat on his face and burn out quickly, or he was going to be a big star for years to come. And thankfully, we got the latter. Yeah, definitely. We have Paul Heyman interfering a lot early on. A very svelte Paul Heyman as well. A very slim and slath Paul Heyman, looking good in this time.
And it's funny how that baseball cap takes 15 years off him. Do you know what I mean? It's like when the cap's on,
because it's covering up his bald head.
Yeah, exactly. When the cap's off, he's 15 years older. He puts it on, 15 years younger. It's quite, is that why you wear yours?
Because I'm bald. Yeah, I wish it was.
Speaking of which, Tanner, I can see is still commenting in the chat, and we're talking about baseball caps. Tanner, there's been a couple of videos on Radio Tekkers recently that you do, and you're not wearing the baseball cap that I'm used to. Yes. Stop this, please. It's very unnerving.
And especially when he had the kind of like Amish beard and no mustache thing.
Yeah. I think,
in fact, very much like the Undertaker from the Ministry of Darkness era, the higher power. He had that kind of like that beard.
Old Satan silly beard time, wasn't it? That sort of thing.
I'm definitely bringing that up on the next episode of Tekkers. Satan silly beard, brilliant.
Yeah. So Tanner, take that on board, please, my friend. A little bit of a constructive criticism. Yeah, make sure you got a hat on or whatever, please, mate. You just look odd. I'm not gonna lie, you just look odd. Okay. Tanner's beard inspired Mason Mount's current facial hair. Brilliant. Thanks, Dan, in the chat. Heyman interferes with, I suppose, very old school, straightforward manager interference. He cups The Rock's foot as he's running the ropes. He gives him a little kick when the ref's not looking and The Rock's on the outside. Very simple, old school heel manager mannerisms, but always incredibly effective. It gets the crowd involved and so on. But here, not necessarily how they potentially want, because people realise The Rock's pissing off to Hollywood and they're booing the shit out of him.
Yeah, and kind of like how we got at WrestleMania 18, we got like almost a kind of double turn, because going into this match, Lesnar was the big bad heel, and Rock was the kind of great white hope kind of babyface. And halfway through this match, The Rock was getting booed out of the building, and the contestants tried to play off like as if it was 50-50. It weren't 50-50.
No, it was not.
They were like, fuck you, Rock. And yeah, it was but fair play to Rock. He knows how to feed off that crowd, and he was playing into it like, how dare you boo me? He's the heel and stuff like that. He really kind of give him that extra bit of energy. But yeah, the crowd did not like The Rock in this match.
No, definitely not. There's a moment that we've seen since, especially a lot more recently in AEW and so on. We saw it all out literally just last night, for example, where The Rock and Brock Lesnar are both flat on their back, but then do that sort of double nip up.
Oh, it was so good.
So well timed. It just,
yeah,
you know, and these are.
And you don't expect a guy of Brock's size to be able to do that. I mean,
no,
this is a guy who was throwing drop kicks and suicide dives. He should not be able to do the things that he did in this match. It's worrying. It's really, really worrying.
One down point for me is that we see The Rock's sharpshooter. I've made my thoughts known on The Rock's sharpshooter in the past. I put it up there as one of the worst looking moves alongside John Cena's STF. I think it's absolutely shocking. And it pops in my head of, you're that good, you're that entertaining, you've got that many moves in your arsenal, or even if you haven't got that many moves in your arsenal, you don't need to do that because you're already so over without it. Why do a move that you must know it looks like shit? Somebody must say, that looks like crap, mate. You know, come on, Dwayne. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the way he leans really into it, it does make it look really, really bad. But the more kind of thing that annoyed me about it was how easy he is to be distracted and let it go. He had Lesnar in that move for a good 2-3 minutes. Lesnar was on the verge of tapping quite a number of times. And then Heyman is behind The Rock, gets involved, gets onto the apron, and he just lets the move go. Why not just carry on and keep the move on? You're that close to winning the match. Why let the hold go just to attack somebody who is not consequential to the finish of the match? But wrestling be wrestling.
Yes, I guess. I mean, these people get distracted by, people turning up on the ramp or music playing or whatever. So, yeah. We then get Brock Lesnar using a chair into The Rock's ribs after a distraction again by Paul Heyman, doing a brilliant job.
And then the killer bear hug.
The bear hug, yeah. There's always something odd as well about... I see the purpose of a move like the bear hug in certain situations. In this one, it worked quite well because he's had a shot to the ribs. Lesnar's recently put pay to Hulk Hogan, and the bear hug was a big part of that match and quite a symbolic win, I guess, with the blood across Lesnar's chest and so on. So I can understand why it's being used here at the main event at SummerSlam, throwback to the Hogan match, Rock's bad ribs, and so on. What I'm not keen on is that when you see both guys go down to the floor and you've got a bear hug applied on the floor, that just looks weird. Yeah, that looks like a struggle cuddle. So that just looks like,
I think the aim was to show that Brock was able to do a bear hug and a suplex and still keep the bear hug held in place. And it did look a little bit weird, but again, you've explained it really well what the point of the bear hug was. It was like a callback to the Hogan. We got Rock almost having the three arms drop and getting the recovery. Then we get Rock on the outside, which I thought was a kind of like almost a refresher in a match where he was getting dominated, and he rock bottoms Paul Heyman through the Spanish announce table. Yeah. That is brilliant. I love this bit.
And he sort of has a little word with Heyman as he leaves as well, doesn't he? But he sort of pulls his coat up or his shirt up over him as well. And I reckon that's a nice touch. I mean, if I was ever involved in anything like that and I had to take a bump for whatever reason, first of all, it would never happen. But if it did, I'd be worried about if I was led there and the crowd all around me with camera phones and so on. I'd want something covering my face because I wouldn't be able to help myself. Just having a little look. What's going on?
And a giggle.
Yeah, exactly.
That was fucking awesome.
I just got slammed by the Rock. My God. I'd have to have my jacket pulled up over my head or something, you know?
But in the actual build up to that rock bottom, we see another kind of a nod to Lesnar's agility. We see the Rock kind of like polishing the ring post. He does the slingshot, and Brock, when he slings into the post, he gets some air. He jumps a good 5 feet into the air to headbutt the top of that post. The guy was phenomenal at this age. And I think he was 25 at this match. I mean, that's in wrestling. That's a kid.
Because he was the youngest WWE
until Randy, I think was.
Yeah, until Randy Orton in 2004. And Randy was 24 when he did it, so 25 would make sense, I think. Yes, Heyman goes through the table as you mentioned. There's a massive rock bottom on Lesnar then. I mean, they get some real height on that rock bottom. That's coming down from a great height. Lesnar kicks out, but then Lesnar uses the rock bottom as well.
And he does a good rock bottom. I'm not usually a fan of people doing their opponent's finishing moves just for the sake of it. You can count on one hand the amount of people who could pull off a good rock bottom. I think Jericho does a decent one, and this one from Lesnar is a good one. But that's pretty much it. Maybe Booker, obviously, with his own version, the bookend. But yeah, Lesnar dropping the rock bottom, that was all absolutely awesome, and nearly gets the win as well. But then we get into the Rock's kind of greatest hits, goes for the spine buster, goes to do the people's elbow, and then Lesnar just pops up and just essentially decapitates the Rock with a clothesline.
That clothesline, man. Oh, my word.
Destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him. Goes for the F5. We see the Rock kind of escape that, who then went for a rock bottom. Lesnar works his way out of that. A cool little kind of arm twist back into the F5, and boom, Rock is down. Only takes one F5, not like the Lesnar of now, where he F5 someone until their face doesn't resemble their face anymore. It's essentially one F5 and the Rock is down, and a really cool pass of the torch from me. Rock sold amazingly well for Brock, and then we kind of get a weird end to the show because you don't get like a promo package or a highlights package, or you don't get like a graphic. It's essentially just Brock headbutting the title, then looking at the title as if kind of like Tommaso Ciampa when he looked at Goldie when he was NXT champion. Like,
yeah, it's a good shot actually.
He goes bright red, his eyes bulge out, and he's the top dog in the WWE. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really, really cool way to end. Like, we ended on a shocker. What is the kind of landscape of the WWE going to be now? This animal is at the top of the tree. Yeah,
exactly. It was definitely a change, wasn't it? You look at this time. Well, WrestleMania 19 was the next WrestleMania, and Lesnar by this stage was, as we mentioned earlier, babyface winning the title again from Kurt Angle in the main event. You had The Rock disappearing
where he
again.
nearly killed himself.
Yes. You had The Rock disappearing again to do more movies after that event. Austin had his last match at that event. The NWO experiment was just done and over with by then. It was really from 2001 Survivor Series, when the Alliance storyline finished, through 2002 up to WrestleMania 19. I think they were really finding their feet, but they had this huge roster of talent of guys like Rock, Austin, and even Hogan, who had the name value and the ability, but they were kind of on their way out. And you had guys like Angle and Lesnar and so on, who were, Angle maybe was more advanced at the time, don't get me wrong, but they were more sort of coming into it. And then the following year, 2004, you also had the crowning of Benoit and Guerrero and so on. I think they were really trying to, the WWE were really trying to find their feet as a company, as a promotion, where they were going in this period. But the talent roster they had with their main rival companies going under was so deep I don't think to me, they couldn't miss, and they didn't. It was some fantastic wrestling to watch from that time.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. The fact that the older kind of statesmen were slowly kind of making way for this newer, hungrier breed of wrestlers with way more kind of different wrestling styles. I mean, the likes of Brock, and then Brock, and then Eddie and Benoit, Angle, all kind of real technically skilled wrestlers. I thought, this was a real kind of golden age of WWE.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I suppose, where do we go now, Magsy, rating wise? Do you want to go first or second?
Yeah, our break tradition. I will go first. I think you were right. It's not exactly the best match on the card. We watched that last week with HBK and Hunter, but it was certainly a really cool kind of main event. Really, like I said, changed the landscape of WWE. The action was fast paced. There was very few botches. A few things that maybe I would have certainly changed. The bear hug was kind of jarring in the middle of what was a fast match. The Paul Heyman stuff was kind of annoying, I suppose, when you're looking at these being for the Undisputed Title. But I enjoyed watching it back. I'd happily watch it back again. So I think I'm going to give it a 7.
Same as me. Spot on.
There we go.
Exactly what I was going to do. Yeah, it was a good match. I enjoyed it. I could happily watch it back again. 16 minutes long. It's not going to take up my day. There's enough there to keep me entertained. Lesnar's incredible at this stage. The Rock is he's The Rock, isn't he? He's absolutely fantastic. The Heyman interference didn't bother me too much, to be fair.
Well,
I mean, normally
you're old school.
Yeah, I suppose, but it didn't bother me massively. I think it was a really well done contest, letting The Rock nip off and film Scorpion King or whatever it was he was doing at this stage. I enjoyed it. It was a good enough pick for me, mate. 7 out of 10. Signed. I'm happy with that.
Yep. Great man think alike.
And idiots agree. So then, Mr. Mags, actually, I'll tell you what we'll do before we decide where we're going next. We'll let everyone know about what's happening next week.
Yes.
But obviously next week we are not live, but I don't want anyone out there to panic. We are bringing you a pre-recorded chain wrestling almost live, with a guest that we discussed last week on the show. We're looking at a match of the guest's choice.
Well, actually, it wasn't. We gave him that.
Oh no,
option,
yeah,
and he went the whole chain wrestling gamut and put a poll out, and we watched the match that won the poll. Even though he did try and sway the pick afterwards when he said, "Should I really stick with this?" And I said, "Yes, we have to give the people what they want."
Yeah.
So next week's episode is like Sar said, it's a pre-recorded one with the amazing Dan Griffin from the UTT podcast. We had great fun recording it. So it will be out exactly the same time as this episode drops on the Monday. So you will definitely get your chain wrestling fix. So yeah, definitely tune in for that.
Yeah, as Magsy said, same place, same time, etc. No non-wrestling topic next week because of being not live. It's not possible to sort of organise those sort of things in the timeline of our recording and so on. And it is a match decided upon by a vote put out by Dan himself, that we look at as a one-off, and then we sort of rejoin the chain live, I guess. Yeah. The following week. So
essentially this is a non-canon episode in terms of movies or in terms of wrestling shows. This is our Saudi show, maybe. This is our crown. Okay, this is our super showdown from Australia. It's going to be cool, but in the grand scheme of chain wrestling, it doesn't affect the canonical storyline.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. So, where shall we go in 2 weeks' time?
Yes.
Our social media accounts you'll need to keep an eye out for. We'll give you the options for the poll now, but the options will appear in the way of the usual poll next week after the pre-recorded show has come out, so we can have a look at where we're going and sort of rejoin the chain and carry on as normal, I guess, Magsy. Where would you like to go in 2 weeks' time, Mags?
Okay, so I mentioned how I think that Brock is a generational talent, and we're going to miss him when he finally hangs up those boots. And the stuff that he's done in the wrestling world is it's up there with the very, very best of wrestlers. I mean, the guy's won the IWGP heavyweight title. He's been multiple time WWE champion, King of the Ring, Royal Rumble winner. But there's something that he did which will always stand out to me as one of the pinnacles of his career. He won a match that he wasn't actually in.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, go on.
I want to visit that when he made the wrestling world shit its pants.
Oh, people were so cross.
Oh, I have in my time on wrestling Twitter, this stands out as one where that place burnt to the ground.
Yeah,
they hated this. But the match that came before it was actually pretty damn good. So I'm going with the Money in the Bank 2019, the Money in the Bank ladder match for the World Championship contract for the men, where we had Mustafa Ali, Andrade, Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, Randy Orton, and Ricochet. And it was won by somebody who wasn't in the match, Brock Lesnar. So that's what I'm going for. Money in the Bank 2019, the men's Money in the Bank match.
Some people just want to see the world burn, don't they?
It was brilliant. I loved that day because people were pissed, literally pissed, and just watching him at the top of that ladder laughing, and him coming out on the subsequent Raws and SmackDowns, using the briefcase as a beatbox, dancing away. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That was great. When he was dancing with, Boombox Brock, as Dan Griffin says in the chat, spot on. That was worth it. That was great. And seeing people lose their minds, I laughed when it happened, to be honest, because like I said, I like Brock. But okay. So that's Magsy's choice there. I'm going to go a little bit further back. And you're in the chat. Thank you, gentlemen, for cheering me up tonight. Needed your beautiful mugs. Oh, need your eye testing there, Anya. on your screen with this chest infection. Is your chest infection affecting your eyes? I don't,
I hope you feel better soon, Anya. And thank you.
You're very welcome, sweetheart. You're very welcome. Thank you. I want to go back a little bit further, but I'm going to stick with SummerSlam.
1947, the first ever SummerSlam,
where Hulk Hogan saved the world. No, cool. That's another blast from the past, isn't it? Hogan saving the world. We'll have to go back and do a little deep dive in some of the old audio episodes for certain bits and bobs, Mags. I want to go back to SummerSlam 1989.
Ooh.
And SummerSlam is the link, okay, as well as a title change being the link and so on. I didn't get to watch my Ravishing Rick Rude match this week, which made me sad. So
you can watch the matches. You know, just because you don't win a poll doesn't mean you can't watch the match.
What? I know that. I'm not fucking stupid. I just don't get to talk to people about it, do I? My kids tell me to shut up. I'm boring. I fire the WWE network up. My dog goes in the kitchen. No, I'm joking. My family are brilliant. No, I want to go and watch a Rick Rude match, and I think this is potentially, for his time in the WWF, one of his best matches he had, and definitely the best match his opponent ever had. I think. I think this is better than we can put WrestleMania 7 and WrestleMania 6 in the conversation as well. But I think
his match with Savage was really good.
Savage
Savage carried Warrior to a good match. This is still. I know the match you're talking about. It's still a real good match, and it's testament to how good a ring general Rick Rude actually was.
Yeah. So the match I want to go back to, using SummerSlam as the link, is SummerSlam 1989. Ravishing Rick Rude defending the Intercontinental title against the Ultimate Warrior. Now, please don't straight away jump on the negative and think, "Oh God, the Ultimate Warrior," and
or
think,
do that.
bad.
Definitely do that and vote for Brock winning the briefcase.
You've picked something as your choice that pissed off the whole of the internet. So don't try and we on my chips when it comes to Ultimate Warrior, okay? The Warrior, granted, fantastic character, not very good in the ring. Everyone's aware of that. But this match is worth watching purely because of how good Rick Rude is, and he gets an absolute. Rick Rude's performance is fantastic. To get that level of match out of someone like the Warrior, it is superb. And yeah, Magsy, that's kind of what I want to go back and look at. Some proper retro, vintage, golden era WWE. Ultimate Warrior, face painted up, ravishing Rick Rude. Lovely stuff, mate.
I mean, they're two picks that we win either way. We get to have a good match between Warrior and Rick Rude, or we get to watch the world absolutely tear its own arsehole when Brock Lesnar wins a match he had no right to be in. Brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Win-win.
The poll, as I said, will be up the week after next when we have our pre-recorded episode airs. We'll go back on like normal. The poll will be up on the social medias at @chain_wrestling, where you can always find us there on the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But the poll is always going to be on Twitter. So find us on Twitter. If you do not have a Twitter account, just set one up. We're worth it. We're bloody brilliant. Yeah.
Set one up and follow us as well.
Oh yeah, you better do that. Yeah. Otherwise you wouldn't see what we're tweeting. Yeah, that's quite an important part of it, actually. You follow us as well.
And whilst you're doing that, you might as well sub to this channel, give this video a like, click that notification bell so you don't miss any of our chain wrestling and other content from here at Radio Tekkers. We're making a big push to put out some top quality content for you guys and gals to watch along. So yeah, we'd appreciate a sub and a notification.
100%. So much great content from Radio Tekkers, podcasts, just such brilliant stuff. Football, obviously the waiting room coming soon. You get us, and we're bloody brilliant. We're worth it alone, surely.
And he's a fucking delinquent.
I like cream soda, mate. Okay, Maxie, do you want to let everyone know whereabouts they can find you on the soch, as the kids may call it? I don't think they do, actually. I don't know where that came from.
I don't think any kid has ever called it the Soch. So you can follow me on the only Soch that I'm involved in, Twitter, down here at Podfather Mags. I'm heavily involved here with all things Radio Tekkers, football, MMA, this amazing show. And you can also find me on Visionaries Global Media and Chairshot. So wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, indeed. You can find me at SJP Words on Twitter, and you can find, again, the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at @chain_wrestling. Chuck us a like, a follow, all that good stuff. Subscribe to Radio Tekkers as well. The poll will always be on Twitter. I hope you enjoy our pre-recorded episode next week, where Magsy's departing for a while, leaving us all alone and stitching us up. I've
done Jake the Steak. I've just no showed the event.
That's it. But I hope you enjoy it. It was great fun recording with Dan. Thanks again for everyone tuning in to us today. Again, at @chain_wrestling on all the social medias. I'm off now to do my face up like the Ultimate Warrior with Vandal paint. Whilst probably listening to a bit of Aerosmith. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye, Magsy.
I mean, just before we go, I actually used to do my face paint Warrior with toothpaste, which is not an idea I would recommend because it stings. But bye-bye.